The movie starts with a man named Heller working on his broken plane. His wife, Sarah, comes over and asks him to come inside. Heller makes her a cup of coffee, and Sarah tells him she has to go to London for 5 days for work. Heller isn't happy about it, but he walks her to the car and says goodbye. Then Heller drives to his job. He works as an analyst at a CIA office. At work, he talks to a coworker named the Bear. While they're chatting, the Bear asks for help with his computer, and Heller says he'll help. Turns out that Heller is a genius and has an IQ of 170. After that, Heller goes into his office and starts looking at some files. While he's working, he gets a message from an online friend named Inkeline. The message has some secret information about the government. As Heller reads it, he notices something strange. Then Sarah calls him. He talks to her quickly, then goes back to looking at the file. When Heller opens the files, he finds out something shocking. His own government ordered drone strikes on friendly countries. He also discovers that Director Moore and a man named Caleb are behind the attacks. Heller quickly leaves the office. That night, Heller tries to call his wife Sarah, but she doesn't answer. The next morning at work, Moore comes to Heller's office and takes him to see Director O'Brien. She tells Heller that Sarah was killed in an attack. Moore shows him the news and explains what happened. Heartbroken, Heller goes home, unable to believe that Sarah is really gone. The next morning, Heller talks to Moore and Caleb about what happened and asks what they're going to do. Moore tells him not to worry and that everything will be handled. A few days later, Sarah's body and her belongings arrive at the airport. At home, Heller goes through her things and starts crying. Over the next few days, Heller keeps looking into the attack. He studies everything and explains what he finds to Moore and Caleb. It turns out the attackers were a team of 4 people. During a fight with the security team, one of them killed a guard. This made the others panic, so they quickly took some hostages. They grabbed people from the airport waiting room, and one of them was Sarah. The person who took Sarah was named Mishka Blažić, and another one was named Elish. While trying to escape, they killed Sarah. Later, the attackers gave the name of a dealer called Frank. But when Heller tells Moore and Caleb, they don't seem surprised. That's when Heller realizes they already knew everything about the attack. When he asks them about it, Moore says their real goal is to destroy the entire organization. Then Moore tells Heller to go to a therapy session. During the session, Heller tells the therapist everything. He's confused and upset that the government isn't doing anything. That's when he decides he has to stop these people himself. A few days later, Heller hides a bug on his ID card and sneaks into the office. He prints out secret files that show what Moore and Caleb have done. Then he goes to a bar and notices a CD machine that he thinks he can use. The next morning, Heller takes the printed papers and starts blackmailing Moore and Caleb. He tells them he has backup copies of the information, and if anything happens to him, the files will be sent to the media. He also says he wants to be the one to take down the people who killed Sarah, and asks to be trained for the mission. Moore realizes they're in trouble, so he agrees and assigns a man named Henderson to train Heller. During training, Heller struggles. He can't even hit a target with a gun, but he's great at making explosive weapons, like it's second nature. Henderson also makes fake passports for him. While training, Henderson tells him that even up close, Heller just can't bring himself to shoot. Back at the CIA office, Caleb becomes suspicious. He starts checking Heller's files and searches everywhere for the backup data, even Heller's house, but finds nothing. Then they discover Heller has been going to a bar several times. Thinking the files might be there, they check the bar and find the CD machine. But when they open it, they realize Heller was bluffing. There's nothing inside. Worried, they call Henderson and tell him to bring Heller back. But when Henderson goes to Heller's room at the training center, he finds it empty. Heller has already left, taking the fake passports with him. Heller uses the fake passports and travels to London. There, he starts following a dealer named Gretchen Frank. He even sneaks into her house to look for clues. When Gretchen comes home, Heller tries to point a gun at her, but he can't bring himself to shoot. So, he comes up with a different plan. While Gretchen is getting treatment at a hospital, Heller sneaks into her room and puts poison in her oxygen machine. But she wakes up, escapes the chamber, and even fights Heller before running out into the street. There, She's hit by a car and dies. Heller takes her phone and quickly leaves the scene. Then he grabs his things and travels to France. One night at a bar, he notices someone is following him. It's Henderson. Heller tries to run, but Henderson catches up. Heller creates a distraction and talks to Henderson. Henderson tells him that he can't change the past. While they talk, Heller uses the distraction to escape. The next morning, Heller sends a message to his anonymous online friend asking for help. Then he flies to Istanbul and meets up with his friend Inquiline. Together, they go to her safe house and start tracking down the killers. Meanwhile, Director O'Brien starts to suspect that Moore is doing something shady behind her back. She asks him about it, but Moore denies everything and says he fully supports her. As he leaves, O'Brien realizes that Moore was the one who sent Henderson to train Heller, and she begins an investigation. Back at the safe house, Heller and Inquiline find out that one of the killers is in Madrid. Heller travels there. He finds out the killer likes to swim alone in a sky pool. It's a pool made of glass, high above the ground. Heller builds a device that can break the glass of the pool. The next day, Heller confronts the killer and asks for the name of the other person involved in Sarah's death, but the killer refuses to talk. So, Heller activates the device, the glass shatters, and the killer falls with the water, dying on impact. Inquiline finds out that Henderson is following Heller and quickly warns him. Heller starts running, but just as Henderson is about to catch him, another CIA agent, sent by Director O'Brien, steps in and stops Henderson. The two agents get into a serious fight. In the end, other CIA agents arrive and shoot Henderson. Heller wants to help Henderson, but Inquiline stops him and tells him to keep going. Meanwhile, back at the CIA office, Director O'Brien asks Moore about Heller. Moore lies and says he doesn't know anything, then leaves. Later, O'Brien checks the surveillance footage from Madrid. She sees something that makes her think Inquiline might be helping Heller. So, the CIA starts tracking Inquiline and finds out she's in Istanbul. They then contact the embassy there. That night, while Heller and Inquiline are sleeping, CIA agents surround their safe house. They wake up and quickly run away. They jump into a car and try to escape, but during the chase, a bullet hits Inquiline, killing her instantly. Heller quickly changes seats and drives to a safe place. Before leaving, he kisses her goodbye. A few days later, Heller gets a message through Frank's contact about an arms deal. He agrees to supply weapons. Then, he uploads his face into special software that can make other people look like him. He doesn't know that the CIA now thinks he's in Berlin because of this trick, and they send agents there. Meanwhile, Heller sets a trap for one of the killers. He uses a bomb that goes off if anyone moves away from it. When the killer gets caught, Heller questions him and finds out that their leader always stays on a ship. Heller takes the killer's phone and leaves. As he walks away, the killer accidentally moves and is killed by the bomb. At the same time, the CIA realizes they were tracking the wrong person. They stop their search for Heller. Heller makes his way to a port near the Baltic Sea and starts watching some of the illegal deals happening around a big ship. While tracking the deals, he suddenly runs into the Bear, his old coworker, who is also on the run. They talk for a while, and Bear tells Heller he knows everything he's done and says he's willing to help him no matter what. A few days later, Heller watches a deal from a distance. But the dealers spot him, knock him out, and take him to their boss, a man named Slater. That night, Heller is brought onto Slater's ship to meet him. On the ship, Heller confronts Slater about the deals he made with Moore and Caleb. Slater tells Heller that he's not a killer. He's too afraid to pull the trigger. To prove it, Slater hands Heller a loaded gun and dares him to shoot. Heller points the gun at him, but can't do it. Then, something strange happens. The ship starts to turn on its own. Slater gets nervous and tries to take control, but Heller calmly tells him that he hacked the ship. Now it's sailing into Finnish waters. Heller also says he already contacted Interpol and the Finnish Navy. Soon, Slater and his men are caught and arrested. In the end, Moore and Caleb are also arrested for everything they did. Heller finally gets justice for his wife and finds peace. At the very end, he meets Henderson again, who turns out to still be alive. Heller then takes one last flight in the small plane Sarah had gifted him, feeling close to her once more.